It shouldn't have to be this way. And we shouldn't have to fight so hard to have the right thing done for this disease. Hi, my name is Heidi, and I was diagnosed with stage 3A lung cancer in October of 2018. I'm a lifelong health enthusiast, health educator, and a fitness trainer, married to Pierre for 38 years, my high school sweetheart. He's a retired primary care physician. We have 3 adult children who are all independent, and we are now happily grandparents to 2 little girls, one from my son and daughter-in-law, one from my daughter and son-in-law. Yeah, so my lung cancer diagnosis was a complete shock. I didn't even have any symptoms that one would characterize as things you would look for lung cancer. I had an ovarian cyst that seemed a little suspicious. Yes, unusual for my age, but what was really shocking was a mass was found in the upper lobe of my left lung and some lymph nodes in the middle of my chest. I was inoperable based on having multi-station disease, meaning the lymph nodes were in 2 different stations, and that the only treatment option I had was chemoradiation. And there you go get your affairs in order. And I just couldn't believe what I was hearing for many reasons. Primarily was, how could I have lung cancer? I didn't have what the risk factors were, taught to me. I had no symptoms really. And how could this be late stage? And you're going to, most likely be gone in 4 to 6 months, get your affairs in order. I was just shocked. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was the goody-goody, and I sat right next to the driver, pretty much, in the front of the bus. I felt stigmatized back then that all the cool kids smoked and participated in this very common behavior, even though they weren't old enough. It was the cool thing to do. And I was the kid who wasn't invited to birthday parties, never invited to hang out. And the irony is, all these years later, I'm the one with late stage lung cancer. And it just kind of shattered, I guess, a perception that I had of somebody who had lung cancer. And as time went by and I learned more, that here I am, a health educator trained in prevention. My husband is a primary care physician trained in prevention. And if we didn't know that people without a smoking history could get lung cancer, why would we expect the general population to know that? Over time, I began to realize that these were teachable moments, and it was really important to educate people. If we weren't educated as people trained in prevention, the rest of the world was not either. So I was very focused on getting better, being compliant with all the treatments and things that I should do to maximize, potential for this to be successful. And then a year had gone by, or more than a year, and I thought to myself, I haven't met another person with lung cancer. Why do I feel alone? I had met a couple of people in Colorado prior to that. They were much younger than me. And these young people were putting themselves out there and trying to get media attention. And here I was sitting on this, a very quiet story that had been very, self-serving, that I wanted to get through treatment and focus on all of that and seeing my children. And I'm thinking about our story, health educator, primary care doc, no knowledge of this. I started to feel like it was very irresponsible to stay quiet. That was my first, thought. So basically around a year into this, how did this very shy, introverted person end up sharing their story so loudly? That came later, almost another year later, when efforts across the country where we were going to these meetups, we were all advocates, survivors, their caregivers, getting the same type of treatment. From the asks that we would put out to our, healthcare teams, what are you going to do for Lung Cancer Awareness Month? Basically, the responses were either very dismissive, we'll get back to you, and they never did, ignoring our outreach, or in my case, this now came almost full circle to September of 2020. And I get an email telling me that, we have white lights in our parking lot that get turned on every night, and our doctors wear white coats. So we recognize lung cancer more than any of the other cancers. And I thought to myself, why was it okay to communicate with me like that, so disrespectfully? And so, in a humiliating manner, just because my cancer originated here in my lung, I spend the majority of my waking hours advocating. And that's when that white ribbon was born. I mean, I am going to stand up and show you the original. I screamed at Pierre to please make me a big white ribbon out of wood to throw on the front door so I could at least get my neighborhood to understand that, hey, remember me? This is, Heidi, your local fitness trainer. Someone in this house has lung cancer, and guess what? It's me.
And then she started posting that on social media, and she started getting immediately, like within, I think, a day, some other survivors started seeing that and asking, where did she get the ribbon? And if she could have one. And then she asked me if I could make some for some others, and I said, sure. The requests started more and more, and she started making them. She came into contact with other lung cancer survivors and some other caregivers, and a few other lung cancer advocates got together and said, well, let's work together on this.
There's 3 main points that the White Ribbon Project wants to make sure everyone hears. Number 1, and we've said it already, anyone with lungs can get lung cancer. No one deserves it. Today, there is great hope, even in a late stage diagnosis. I am sitting here in front of you, proof of concept that research matters. Because of that, if you're eligible for screening, you want to get screened, because guess what? You could get caught earlier than me and be doing a lot better than I'm doing here 6 years out. So you have a high chance of, hitting that 5-year survival or being cured with surgery. If you're caught early, focus on the hope in research. We're doing better. We're living longer. This is all within reach. So this has become our life's work. It's important work. It's been in the shadows for way too long. There's no excuse for it when it's the number 1 cancer killer. That was what was one of the most outrageous things to me, that I didn't know that. And no one else seemed to care about that.
Yeah, I am just so incredibly proud of her. And I'm just in awe of what she's accomplished and what she's done and how she's channeled her anxieties and her own fears. If the roles had been reversed, I would have probably retreated inward and not gotten involved in things that ultimately I think are doing good and would have been good for myself. I think I would have had a much more challenging time dealing with my condition, and maybe have not spent my time as productively, and maybe not been as grateful.
The thing about the White Ribbon Project is, look at it as a flag. That's what we've looked at. There were all these efforts, I think, in different silos going on, but what was missing was this symbol of hope for people to literally wrap their arms around. And sometimes metaphorically, I look at this white ribbon as trying to tie that whole community of lung cancer together. The people with the mutations, people with smoking histories, people without a mutation, people with immunotherapy, people who have had surgery. Then all the key players that take care of us, the advocacy organizations, the physicians, the nurses, the healthcare teams. And if we could all unify and work together, what could we accomplish? And we are accomplishing things, getting people to work together, people and organizations to work together, I think was something that just for whatever reason seemed impossible. And now we're watching this happen in real time, and we are watching things progress. We are watching things change for the positive change. And that doesn't mean we still don't have a long to go, but boy, the future looks bright. It really does.